control the vertigo.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic. We host Mark. Today I have possibly a classic to bring you. I don't use that term lightly. We've covered a lot of anthology shows so far, but this one, the reason I do this is because I want to go through the whole lot, the good, the bad, and the odd, as I described in my prelude speech. But I think we're hitting not just good but great here in this particular one I'm going to be talking about tonight. And it was a complete surprise. So yeah, as I've said in the past, I'll pick episodes randomly, semi-randomly. Obviously, every other show is a planned one. The Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits, and the Night Gallery. But the other ones, apart from very new anthology series, which I want to cover sooner rather than later because they're fresh, I do pick the remaining shows I want to watch randomly, truly randomly, use a random number generator or a big dice, whatever I happen to have at the time, and then I count that down and I pick the one that is. And the one I'm doing tonight is from a series from 1972 from the UK called Dead of Night. Not to be confused with the Richard Matheson Dead of Night anthology TV movie. It just shares the title. This was a series that was on BBC. I think probably BBC Two, I'm going to guess, given its tone. And only 7 episodes were aired. An 8th was planned. It was going to be the Stone Tape, which was a 90-minute episode, but that got converted into its own little TV movie and didn't show as part of the Dead of Night series. So there was only 7 originally, and of those 7, only 3 survive, which is a real shame. I happen to have all 3. The BFI produced a box set of the 3 remaining episodes. It's pretty good, but unfortunately, not all 7 survived. Only one of them. It aired from the 5th of November 1972, and for those not in the know, that is the same as Guy Fawkes or Bonfire Night in the UK, where we have firework displays and so on, remembering the treason plot to blow up Parliament by Guy Fawkes and various other conspirators. It's still remembered in this country. And the one we're talking about tonight, was aired on the 5th of November 1972, when I would have been about 7. About that. And went on to the 17th of December, so weekly shows. This first one was written by Don Taylor and directed by Don Taylor. And man, this guy's talented. The writing's very good and the direction is pretty solid. It's a video recording rather than film. But it still looks pretty good. It's not bad at all, and the writing is very, very solid. And it's called The Exorcism, though that's a bit of a mislead. I'm going to kind of avoid spoilers, but I do have to talk about some of the elements that could be spoiled by this. So but I will say this is possibly a classic piece of TV that was unknown to me before I watched it, and is probably unknown to a lot of people. So if you want to come to it completely fresh, do not continue. However, if you're not that bothered, I won't entirely spoil it. I will spoil some elements. That's all. It's called The Exorcism, but it really isn't an exorcism. It's more of a possession story, I guess. In the end, it's certainly a ghost story. It involves 4 characters, 2 couples who are having a Christmas Eve or Christmas. I'm not sure if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, kind of lunch at this cottage that one has acquired. One is kind of upwardly mobile. There's a lot of class references in this. Quite rightly, it feeds into the story. They're early light ones at the beginning, but they actually build to feed into the climax at the end quite nicely, where this upwardly mobile chap was talking about his own working class father complaining about, how he's forgotten his roots and all this. And he talks about how he managed to get this cottage because no one's lived here for since anyone can remember, for a bit of a song. And they've done it up and it looks good and all this. And there's various things talked about there's like a dinner scene, and they're talking about sort of life, and they're talking about class, and they're talking about communism and socialism and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting. They're dressed in the fashions of the day, so early 70s, so there's lots of colourful shirts and neckties and things like that. Interesting fashions. The conversation turns on, but at one point, one guy is insisting that the other guy try his wine. He's sort of kind of proud of his wine, and when the other guy drinks it, he kind of spits it out. It says claims it tastes like blood, and when the rest of them try it, they can't taste anything wrong with it. It tastes like wine, and it's kind of, they're all looking at this guy like there's something wrong with him. But then they start eating, and they spit the food out immediately. It tastes bad to them. There's something wrong with it. It tastes foul, and they can't figure it out. And the woman who cooked it is kind of insisting she cooked it in a normal way. She didn't do anything unusual. And then she starts playing, or maybe before that actually, she starts playing something on like a piano that's a haunting piece of music that kind of gets into their heads and makes them feel a bit weird. Interestingly, that's the only music used in the whole piece, and it is used other than when she's playing it, as incidental music, but it is the only piece used, and it's kind of eerie. Things move on, and this is a slow burn. This is a 50-minute thing, and it takes a good half an hour before we start getting to the real meat of it. And boy, all right, so it's a slow build, but boy, does it build. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This, I cannot recommend this more highly. It is so good. And the lady who was playing the music, and the one who cooked the meal, and the one who's kind of a bit freaked out, she essentially becomes possessed and tells them all a story of woe from hundreds of years before, which explains A, why the cottage has been deserted for so long, and B, why their meal has been affected in this way. The lady's name is Anna Cropper. The actress's name is Anna Cropper, and it's a titanic performance. It is absolutely brilliant. She gives a monologue for about 10 minutes, and it's face acting, it's body acting, it's voice acting, it's everything, and it's totally convincing. It is really something. I cannot stress how good this is. I would recommend trying to hunt it down and find it. This is a real treat. This is one of the reasons I do this show. I don't mind the bad stuff and I don't mind the mediocre stuff, but man, when you hit the good stuff and you don't know it's coming, it's terrific. I will, I think, move on to the other two at some point real soon. I may sort of break my usual tradition because there's only 2 more. There's one called Return Flight and one called A Woman Sobbing. I'll be very surprised if they hit the quality of this one. I think this one's such a standout. It's impressive. And the same, I mentioned it was done by the same writer and director. Don Taylor directed and wrote this one. He didn't do any others. So I think he may be, the baseline of why this is so good. The writing is really good as well, and builds and intertwines. Everything builds into like the end, if that makes sense, quite nicely. And never have I heard the word privileged used as a double-edged sword in a few ways. A double-edged sword, I should say. Yeah, it was really something. It's got 7.4 on IMDb, but it should be up there in the 8s or 9s, in my opinion. The rest of the cast are very solid. One of the cast members you may recognise if you know British TV, Clive Swift, played one of the couples. the men in the couples. Clive Swift, most well known as the long-suffering Richard, the husband in the series Keeping Up Appearance with Mrs. Bouquet or Mrs. Bucket. He's the husband, Richard. He's very similar in this, in that he's got the same voice and mannerisms. He's a different character though. He's not quite as browbeaten as he is in that, but he gives a decent performance. And the other actors are Sylvia Kay, who I've seen in various other things, usually comedies actually, as the serious woman in the straight person in a comedy scene. And the other one is Edward Petheridge, who I think I've seen in other stuff, but can't recall anything specific. But I suspect things like Doctor Who and a lot of 70s TV is probably where I recognise him from. Yes. This is a massive recommend. It's not really an exorcism, as I say, it's a possession, and I thoroughly recommend it. If you want to read a little more, I did find quite a nice little article on this on the Rue Morgue site. Just Google Dead of Night, The Exorcism, and you'll see about the third or fourth Google link. It'll be this retrospective. Quite nice, short, but quite well put piece of writing by Sean Garrett. So I would recommend that too. So treat yourself. If you can get this, try and get it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't recommend it more highly. I'm not going to say any more because I do not wish to spoil the ending for anyone who does want to come to it somewhat fresh. Go check it out if you can. Okay, that's me. So bye from me. And one last question. Is there anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to